On every single capital project happening right now, there's a hidden tax being paid. Now, this isn't something you'll find on a balance sheet. It's a cognitive tax. It's levied directly on the brains of your best engineers every single time they have to review a complex 3D design on a flat 2D screen. And believe me, this tax is costing your business millions. Let's dig into exactly how.
So the whole problem really boils down to this fundamental difference in how our brains work. On one side, you've got the 2D screen. This forces your brain into what we call mental reconstruction. You're not actually seeing a 3D space, you're just seeing a flat collection of clues. Your brain has to do all the heavy lifting to build that 3D model in your head. But on the other side, in VR, you get direct perception. Your brain isn't guessing or building anything, it's just seeing. It's experiencing the space exactly as it is.
So let's talk about this cognitive tax. What is it really? Well, think of it as the intense, invisible mental workouts your engineers go through every time they have to translate flat pixels into a real-world understanding of things like clearances, accessibility, and scale. It's this constant, hidden drain on your project's most valuable resource, your team's brainpower.
To really get the cost here, you have to ask yourself, when you're looking at a CAD model on a monitor, what is your brain actually doing? It feels pretty passive, right? Like you're just looking at a picture. But in reality, behind the scenes, your mind is running a full-on marathon.
And here's what that marathon looks like. First, your working memory is just struggling to juggle all the different pieces of the geometry. Then, your brain's playing detective trying to resolve every ambiguity. Is that pipe in front of that beam or is it behind it? You're constantly trying to guess distances and scale with zero real-world reference. And the biggest one, you're doing constant mental rotation, twisting these complex objects around in your head to figure out how they all fit together. It is absolutely exhausting work. And this isn't just a metaphor, by the way. This is real neuroscience. Functional MRI studies actually show that this mental rotation I just mentioned, it heavily recruits a specific part of the brain called the intraparietal sulcus, or IPS. This is the actual hardware in your head that's doing all the heavy lifting, burning up cognitive energy just to simulate a 3D world.
So, what happens when the brain gets tired from paying this tax all day long? You get errors. And not small ones. We're talking expensive, project-delaying errors. Pipes clash with steel. Clearances for equipment removal are totally wrong. And that critical valve you need to access? Yeah, turns out an operator can't even reach it. These aren't just simple mistakes. They're the direct result of a workflow that's pushing the human brain way past its limits.
And the scale of this problem, it is absolutely staggering. The annual cost of rework in the construction industry, a huge chunk of which comes from these kinds of late-stage design errors, is $2.5 trillion. With a T! That's a massive amount of money just wasted, fixing things that could have been caught from the start.
And this chart just illustrates the financial time bomb perfectly. A mistake you catch during design, that's an easy, cheap fix. But that exact same flaw, if it's not discovered until you're out in the field during construction, it costs 100 times more to fix. This exponential curve, that's the real invoice for the cognitive tax.
All right, so if the problem is a tax on the brain, the solution is pretty straightforward, isn't it? We have to stop paying it. We need a way to work with our brain's natural abilities, not against them. And this is where immersive technology like VR completely changes the equation.
Now, the magic behind VR is a biological process your brain already mastered millions of years ago. It's called stereopsis. It's your brain's native, built-in 3D processor. By showing slightly different images to each of your eyes, a VR headset taps into this system automatically. All of a sudden, the brain doesn't have to guess at depth, it perceives it directly, just like it does in the real world.
So what does this actually give you? Well, it's so much more than a fancy screen. You get true immersion at a 1-to-1 scale. You can physically walk around a piece of equipment, and your brain just automatically processes the sense of motion and space. You perceive size and distance intuitively. That massive cognitive load from mental rotation is just gone. The technology does the work, which frees up your engineer's brain to focus on what matters, the actual design.
And the result is a complete 180 from the 2D screen problem. Instead of high cognitive load and a huge risk of error, you get way lower cognitive load and a massive boost in situational awareness. You just get the space instantly.
Okay, that's the brain science. But let's get practical. How does this neurological shift actually translate to real-world results in a complex place like an oil and gas facility?
Hey, remember that list of common errors we talked about that get missed on 2D screens?
Well, in VR, you can basically just flip that list upside down. Now teams are finding these critical issues early when they're cheap and easy to fix. They're spotting crane path clashes, safety violations with ladders, and impossible-to-reach valves not by guessing from a drawing, but by virtually standing right there and seeing it for themselves.
This quote just nails it. Operators can feel distances instead of guessing them. Think about that. Errors that are practically invisible on a screen become completely obvious when you experience them at human scale. You intuitively know if you have enough room to turn a wrench or escape in an emergency. You cannot get that kind of embodied knowledge from a flat screen. It's impossible.
And look, this is not some niche experimental idea anymore. This is happening right now. It's why industry leaders, the super majors like Shell and ExxonMobil, are already integrating immersive VR deep into their core workflows. They're using it because they understand that this kind of clarity gives them a massive competitive advantage.
Ultimately, of course, this all has to come back to the business outcome. This isn't about adopting technology for technology's sake. It's about the very real return on investment you get from de-risking your most expensive and complex capital projects. Let's be clear. Adopting immersive review is a strategic imperative. It's about de-risking your projects by finding those critical flaws when they're 100 times cheaper to fix. It's about protecting your capital from massive rework costs. And really, it's about what we all want, building it right the first time.
So here's the key takeaway. For decades, we've been asking our best people to work with one hand tied behind their backs, forcing them to do this unnatural translation from 2D to 3D. But the next big leap in productivity and safety isn't about working harder. It's about working smarter. It's about choosing tools that work with the human brain, not against it. So the only real question left is, can your projects really afford to keep paying the cognitive tax?